Somewhere above the heartland of America, the air is thin and cold. In the cockpit of a gargantuan machine, a pilot grips a control yoke that has outlived his father. This is not a relic in a museum or a ghost of a forgotten era. It is a B-52 Stratofortress, and it is preparing for a mission in the year 2026. This aircraft was born when John F. Kennedy sat in the Oval Office. It stood watch during the Cuban Missile Crisis, a silent sentinel of the nuclear age. Now it is being reborn. Plus one. The United States Air Force has committed nearly $50 billion to a singular staggering goal, ensuring these Cold War legends remain the apex predators of the sky until at least 2060. Think about that time frame. We are talking about a century of service, 100 years of screaming across the horizon, carrying the weight of a nation's resolve. It is a transformation that defies the traditional logic of military procurement, where the new is always favored over the old. For 7 decades, the B-52 has been the airborne backbone of American power. When the first designs were sketched on drafting boards, the engineers expected perhaps 20 years of service. They anticipated a shelf life and expiration date. Instead, the B-52 has watched its replacements come and go. It outlasted the supersonic B-1 Lancer. It outlasted the stealthy B-2 Spirit, and now, as the next generation B-21 Raider enters production, the B-52 isn't stepping aside. It is stepping up. The crews call it the Buff. Big, ugly, fat fellow, though the last word is often replaced with something far more visceral by those who fly it. It isn't sleek, it isn't invisible to radar, it is a blunt instrument of industrial age engineering. Yet it possesses a unique unyielding capability, the power to carry 70,000 pounds of ordnance over 8,800 miles without blinking. It is the cheapest, most reliable way to deliver a message of absolute consequence. But even legends have a breaking point. The 8 engines currently hanging from those massive wings, the Pratt & Whitney TF-33, are the same ones that powered missions during the Vietnam War. They are tired. They are failing in ways that the military calls creative, which is a polite way of saying the logistics chain has collapsed. To keep one B-52 in the air, mechanics are forced to cannibalize parts from another, stripping the dead to keep the living moving. It is a cycle of desperation that cannot hold. The choice was binary: retire the most versatile weapon in the arsenal or perform a miracle of modern engineering. The Pentagon chose the miracle. It begins with the $48 billion question. This is not a simple tune-up or a fresh coat of paint. It is the birth of the B-52J. The transformation starts with the engines. Rolls-Royce has stepped in to provide the F-130. Interestingly, these are not high-strung military prototypes. They are civilian engines, the same ones that power the Gulfstream G650 business jets used by CEOs and celebrities. By December 2024, these engines passed their critical design review. Currently, they are undergoing brutal testing at the Arnold Engineering Development Complex in Tennessee. Engineers are simulating every nightmare scenario: thin air, at the edge of space, violent crosswinds, and the terrifying moment when multiple engines fail simultaneously. The logic is elegant. By using a civilian engine, the Air Force plugs into a global supply chain. In the year 2050, when a B-52J needs a part, it won't be scavenged from a boneyard in the desert. It will be ordered from a factory that supports thousands of aircraft worldwide. Yet as we look at the gleaming new engines, we must consider the men who work in the shadows, the mechanics at Barksdale and Minot. They are the ones who have held this fleet together with duct tape and prayers. They understand better than anyone that a machine is only as good as the soul behind the wrench. For them, this upgrade is more than a contract. It is a validation of 70 years of sweat and grease. The B-52J is more than just a change of heart. Its eyes are being replaced. The old mechanical radar, a system that feels like a telegram, in the age of fiber optics, is being ripped out. In its place comes an active electronically scanned array AESA. This is the same technology found in the F-35 and F-22. It allows the bomber to see, through any weather track, a dozen targets at once and navigate with a precision that would have seemed like magic to the original 1950s designers. Step inside the cockpit and the 21st century finally arrives. The forest of analog dials, the trembling needles, and the handwritten coordinates are disappearing. They are being replaced by digital glass displays. The communication systems are being unified, allowing for machine-to-machine data transfers. Now target information flows directly into the aircraft's brain in real time. The human error of transcribing coordinates, while being shot at is being engineered out of the mission. And then there is the teeth. The internal weapons bay is receiving a digital interface upgrade that increases its payload capacity by 66%. The B-52J will be able to carry 8 2,000-pound JDMs internally tucked away until the moment of release. On the outside, new heavy-duty pylons are being installed capable of carrying a single weapon weighing 20,000 pounds. That is the weight of the mother of all bombs. As the B-52 prepares to enter its second century, we are left to wonder, what does it say about us? That our most advanced strategies still rely on a frame built by men who smoked at their desks and calculated stress loads with slide rules. Perhaps the B-52 is the ultimate symbol of American resilience. It is a machine that refuses to die because the mission it serves never ends. We are at the end of the first 1,000 words. The transformation is underway, but the hardest part of the journey, the structural reality of aging steel and the logistical hurdles of a century-old airframe, still lies ahead. The transition from the H model to the J variant is not merely a change in hardware, it is a profound technological leap that forces a 1950s airframe to reconcile with 2026 digital warfare. To understand the gravity of this, one must look at the bones of the aircraft. Deep within the hangars of Tinker Air Force Base in Oklahoma, the B-52 is stripped down to its raw aluminum skin. This process, known as depot maintenance, is where the war against time is truly fought. The engineers here work with a quiet, almost religious intensity. They are looking for fatigue. Metal, like humans, gets tired. After 70 years of absorbing the violent vibrations of 8 engines and the bone-shaking turbulence of low-level flight, the atoms in the steel can begin to pull apart. Yet the B-52 continues to surprise the men with the microscopes, because it was designed in an era before computer modeling, when good enough was replaced by overbuilt. The structural integrity of the Stratofortress remains legendary. Colonel Scott Foreman, the program manager at Tinker, recently confirmed that the airframe structure could theoretically withstand the stresses of flight until the year 2060. This is not a hope. It is a mathematical reality based on decades of data, but even the strongest bones cannot function if the nervous system is failing. The current upgrade faces a ghost that haunts every old weapon system, the disappearing supplier. Imagine needing a specific valve or a particular circuit board, only to find that the company that manufactured it went bankrupt in 1984. This has led to the cannibalization crisis mentioned earlier. It creates a perverse incentive where mechanics become scavengers. Every time a part is pulled from a hangar queen to fix a frontline bomber, the fleet grows weaker. The recent Air Force audit was a sobering wake-up call. It revealed that the service didn't even have a complete digital database of every component in the B-52. They were flying into the future while partially blind to their own inventory. To fix this, the Air Force is moving toward a digital twin strategy. They are scanning every inch of the B-52 to create a virtual model. If a part no longer exists, they will 3D print it. They are rebuilding the supply chain from the ground up, ensuring that the B-52J isn't just a powerful aircraft, but a sustainable one. Strategic shifts are also at play. By the 2030s, the American bomber fleet will look radically different. The B-1 and B-2, once the high-tech darlings of the Pentagon, will be headed for the boneyard. They were too complex, too expensive to maintain, and their stealth coatings were too fragile for the grinding pace of modern conflict. The Air Force is pivoting to a two-bomber team, the B-21 Raider for the surgical strikes that require invisibility and the B-52J for everything else. The B-52J will be the truck. In a conflict over the Pacific, the B-21 might go in first to knock out the eyes of the enemy. But once the door is kicked open, you need volume, you need mass, you need a machine that can orbit the battlefield for hours, raining down precision-guided munitions with a persistence that a fighter jet simply cannot match. A fighter is a sprint, the B-52 is a marathon. Consider the beast mode configuration. With the new 20,000-pound pylons, a single B-52J could theoretically carry 4 massive ordnance air blast MOAB bombs. That is a level of conventional deterrent that no other nation on Earth can replicate. It is a psychological weapon as much as a kinetic one. When an adversary looks at the satellite imagery and sees a B-52J moving to a forward base, they aren't just seeing a plane. They are seeing a century of American industrial defiance. However, the path to 2033, the year the last, B-52J is expected to reach full operational capability is fraught with risk. The TF-33 engines are on life support. Pratt & Whitney has stated they can only support the old engines until 2030. This creates a terrifying capability gap. If the Rolls-Royce integration hits a snag, if the software in the new digital cockpit glitches, or if the 3,000 miles of wiring inside the fuselage proves too brittle to handle the new power loads, the Air Force could find its most important bomber grounded just when it is needed most. The work is being distributed across 4 major hubs: Oklahoma City, San Antonio, Seattle, and Indianapolis. It is a nationwide industrial mobilization. At Tinker, a massive new hangar is rising from the red earth, capable of housing 4 B-52s at once. This isn't just a construction project, it's an altar to the idea of longevity. But as we focus on the billions of dollars and the tons of steel, we must not lose sight of the human cost. The transition to the B-52J requires every pilot, every navigator, and every electronic warfare officer to relearn their craft. They are moving from a world of physical switches and feel to a world of data streams and sensor fusion. For a pilot who has spent 20 years talking to the old buff, this new digital version will feel like a stranger. There is a profound irony here. The B-52 was built to drop gravity bombs on static targets. It was a weapon of the industrial age. Now it is being asked to serve as a node in a multi-domain cloud-based kill web. It will be talking to satellites redirected by AI and carrying hypersonic missiles that fly at 5 times the speed of sound. The machine is the same, but the world it inhabits has changed beyond recognition. We are asking a centenarian to run a digital marathon. The engineers are betting $48.6 billion that she won't just run it, she'll win it. We have reached the 2,000 word mark. The engines are being tested, the hangars are being built, and the digital twin is being born. But the ultimate test, the moment when the B-52J must prove it can survive in a sky filled with stealth hunters and hypersonic threats, is the final chapter of this legend. The final integration of the B-52J is more than a technical milestone. It is a moment of profound reflection for the American military-industrial complex. We are witnessing the intersection of 3 generations. The grandfathers who designed the airframe, the fathers who maintained it during the long nights of the Cold War, and the children who will now take it into a digital frontier. It is a lineage of steel. But as the first B-52J rolls out of the modification hangar in the early 2030s, a haunting question remains. Is this a brilliant masterstroke of economy, or are we clinging to a past that the world has already outpaced? The critics point to the proliferation of advanced surface-to-air missiles. They argue that in a high-intensity conflict against a peer adversary, a massive non-stealthy bomber is nothing more than a giant target. They see the $48.6 billion as a nostalgic investment. But the Air Force's counter-argument is rooted in the harsh mathematics of standoff warfare. The B-52J is not intended to kick down the door, it is intended to reach across the ocean and smash the house from the driveway. With the integration of the long-range standoff, LRSO missile and hypersonic weapons, the B-52J can release its sting from hundreds, even thousands of miles away. It becomes a mobile flying missile silo 1 that can move 500 miles an hour and stay airborne for days. There is also the matter of presence. In the world of geopolitics, the B-52 is a unique currency. When a B-52 lands at an airbase in the Pacific or Europe, it doesn't just bring bombs, it brings the weight of American history. Its silhouette is unmistakable. Adversaries don't need a radar to know it's there. They can feel the vibration of the 8 engines in their chest. It is a psychological deterrent that a stealth drone, no matter how advanced, can never replicate. As we look toward 2060, we must acknowledge the sheer audacity of this timeline. A pilot graduating from the Air Force Academy today might spend their entire 30-year career flying an aircraft that was already old when they were born. They will be the custodians of a century-old legend. They will walk the same flight decks as the men who stood alert during the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis, touching the same rivets, peering through the same glass. The B-52J program reminds us that in the rush to embrace the next big thing, there is immense value in the proven thing. We live in a disposable culture where technology is designed to be obsolete in 3 years. The buff stands in total defiance of that philosophy. It is a testament to an era when things were built to last, when engineering was a matter of pride rather than a calculation of planned obsolescence. The story of the B-52J is not just about engines, radars, or $50 billion contracts. It is about the refusal to surrender to the passage of time. It is about the belief that with enough ingenuity, enough sweat, and enough respect for the past, we can make the old world relevant in the new one. When the last B-52 finally heads to the boneyard, perhaps in the 2060s, perhaps later, it will mark the end of an era that lasted longer than the careers of every general currently serving. But until that day comes, the big ugly fat fellow will continue to hunt. It will continue to rumble across the skies of a world it barely recognizes. A silent promise from an age of slide rules to an age of silicon. The engines are starting. The digital eyes are open. The legend continues.